I originally got into cord cutting and cord removal, or even just thinking about those things, because I wanted to free myself from past lovers and past relationships. So I often felt like I would have a crush on someone and I would have this whole fantasy idea of how our lives could be, or maybe we were even in a relationship, and then things would change, and I would want to be free of that. I would want to feel like I'm on my next level and not feeling like I'm still thinking about that person every single day or feeling in connection with the old chapter of me that is no longer in alignment. And of course, this was many, many years ago. So since then, my thoughts about relationships and my thoughts about conflict and being in connection with other people, as well as energy and cords and cutting versus removal, all of these things have changed so much. And a huge part of what's changed that is also being a professional healer and working with thousands of women all over the world in healing from divorce or sexual abuse or a job that they don't want to be identified with anymore. And I think that so often when we have a life experience, we develop these energetic cords, for lack of better terms, which I'll explain a little bit more in this video. And what that is like that life experience gets integrated and it becomes a part of who you are. And if you've had a lot of negative experiences, so to speak, then you might become what some people call very jaded. And at one point in my own life, I noticed that I was feeling this way. I was feeling so jaded, and I didn't want to be that type of woman. And so I found myself seeking all of these energetic practices in order to try to become less jaded. I really, really found so much support when it comes to therapy and talking about all of the past experiences that made me feel jaded in the first place. However, the more I talked about those experiences, it seemed to just rise them to the surface of my mind. And the more that I understood neuroscience based on my own licensing and certification and things like that, the more I could see that that was actually not supporting me. Every time we talk about the past in order to try to release it, even though our intention is to get rid of those thoughts and feelings and that connection, what we're actually doing is we're bringing that past connection into this present moment, because our nervous system does not see time. Time is an external force, and our nervous system sees the things that are internal. So our nervous system doesn't run on time. And every time we think about a past experience, even if it were to be 20 years ago, our nervous system is experiencing it as if we were experiencing it right now. And the reason that I say our nervous system is experiencing this is because we don't always have conscious memories of the things that we have attachments to, which is so trippy. Energetic attachments happen in the form of emotions. It can happen in the form of memories or thoughts. Maybe you can't stop thinking about someone, but we can also have energetic attachments that just kind of show up. I know that last night, for example, I was going to order a specific dish and I hadn't had that specific dish in a really, really long time. And as I went to order the dish, I started to experience all of these old energies that I used to feel at the time that I ordered that dish many years ago. So I was having these old energetic kind of flashbacks, even though I wasn't actually having conscious memories or thinking about, I couldn't articulate to you what I was feeling. But the second I went to go order that dish, my body started to have this energetic response. And I suddenly remembered like being 18 again and just all of the memories that I had when I had that dish in the past. So our energetic attachments can be so nuanced and so complex. And the more sensitive you are and the more empathetic you are, the more you can take on other people's energy, the more you can take on energy in a given moment. Like, for example, when I was ordering that dish 10 years ago, I probably wasn't aware of the fact that I was absorbing all of this energy in that moment. And so when I went to order that dish again last night, I started to relive the energy of the people that I was around when I had that dish in the first place. So, what that tells me is that I can do some energetic cord cutting to that situation. And it doesn't mean that I now hate those people or hate that this dish. Cutting energetic cords doesn't mean that you have to cut the thing out of your life, but it means that you're cutting your energetic attachment to that thing. Again, your energy is your emotions, your thoughts, the feelings that you have about certain things. And I know that when it comes to abuse, we can really, really experience this energetic attachment so deeply because even though you might be out of the situation, you still feel energetically in the situation. You still feel energetically attached. I know that I experienced a trauma at one point in my life, and for many years afterwards, every single day, I just felt like attached to that trauma in some way. And if you've also experienced a trauma, or it doesn't have to be like a painful experience in order for your energy body to get energetically attached to that experience. So, if you're an empath, if you are a sensitive person, or if you just want to set yourself free and not be jaded how you once were, you might want to not just talk about the things that have happened in the past and the feelings that you might have, but you might also want to practice exercises or practices that actually help you clean your energy body. And we talk so much about cleansing and cleaning when it comes to hygiene in our society. I live in California, in the United States. And so the US, if you go into any store, you'll see all of these cleaning products for all different parts of your house. You'll see different facial cleansers and body cleansers and all of this stuff. So we're really, really familiar with cleaning, but we're not really familiar with how to clean our thoughts, how to clean our heart, how to clean our emotions. And so that's where these practices of cord cutting and cord removal can really help clean our internal body so that we feel so much more clear in every single interaction that we have, so that we feel clear to make decisions that we want to make, and so that life can feel so much easier. So there's two different practices, or I won't say practices yet because there's so many practices that you can really do when it comes to cord cutting and cord removal. But the reason that I've differentiated these things is because a lot of people get them confused. Cord cutting is so, so common, and it's something that you can do every single day. It is really empowering. I do cord cutting practices all throughout the day. For example, right before filming this, I was working with some amazing clients and we were doing some really deep, beautiful soul work. And even though I love them so much and I love my work so much, and I'm so grateful for those sessions, between moving from those sessions into sitting here and filming with you, I did some cord cutting. I lit some incense and I followed some practices that I know will clear the energy so that I can feel completely clear sitting here and being with you. So that practice is really useful, and I recommend that people do it at the end of the day, especially if you're a therapist, if you're a healer, if you're a parent even. It's so valuable to clear your energy every single day, first thing in the morning, at the very last thing that you do before you go to bed, so that you can really feel like each day is a clear and clean slate for you. And again, this is so different than cord removal. Cord removal is a much deeper practice. It's a practice that I actually had to go and get licensed and certified for. And this is a specifically trauma healing practice, but using it in my own life and in my own spiritual journey, I have used it for lots of different things, and I'll share with you how you can use it too. So, cord removal is not just the cutting of the cord, but it's actually the uprooting and removing of that cord entirely. And again, we're talking about energy here. So you can remove a cord with someone and still have love for that person, still have connection with that person, and wish them well. Removing cords with someone like sometimes we remove cords with family members or people that we don't necessarily want to be out of connection with. Sometimes we remove cords with people that we do want to be completely out of connection with. And removing the cord doesn't necessarily dictate your behavior. Those things are completely separate. And it's so important to have really healthy behavior around people that you have energetic connections with. But that's a whole other topic for a whole other day. So we develop energetic cords firstly with our parents because we come from their genetic lineage. So when we are birthed, we have an umbilical cord, and that is our physical version of our energetic cord to our mother. Now, this area of the body where the umbilical cord connects with your physical body is actually where all energetic cords tend to connect within our physical bodies. So when we get in relationships and things like that, you might notice that this part of your body, it's like the soft part of your stomach, your belly button to your diaphragm, that area is where energetic cords can connect. And that area, if you feel like tension or a cramp or something along those lines, that can be an indicator that you are ready to get rid of an energetic cord. So it's really important as we mature from young adulthood into adulthood to cut or and remove our energetic cord with our mother. And regardless of your relationship with your mother, the reason that this is important is because you get to be an energetically sovereign being. That means that you get to feel your own feelings, you get to have your own opinions and beliefs, and it's completely okay if those are the same beliefs and opinions as your mother, but it's really, really empowering for our own mind and thought process and our own life to at least have the freedom to choose for ourselves. And something that can help give us that freedom is removing that energetic cord. So the first step of cord removal is going to be with the parents. And you can already see how different this is than cord cutting. We're choosing a specific person, we're having a specific ceremony, and this isn't something that you have to do over and over and over again. Because once we've removed those cords, the cords are removed unless we go and recreate those cords, of course. So I recommend a cord removal process for narcissistic abuse, for trauma, for any sort of emotionally or psychologically abusive relationship, sexual abuse. Like cord removal can be so empowering because it can really sever that tie and break you free on a deep, deep level of any sort of karma that you could be experiencing in this lifetime, of any sort of pain and hurt and confusion that you're having in conflict with another person. And what you might notice is as soon as we remove that cord, regardless of the degree of abuse or harm or pain, you will feel completely different. You will feel like you are on the next level of your healing journey and able to kind of look at the experiences, the reality of what happened, as well as yourself and your own lessons in a different way. So, cord removal is so empowering. If I was the ruler of the universe, I would recommend that every single person does a cord removal, at least just for their own family, so that they can feel sovereign in their thoughts and in their emotions and connect with their family based on choice rather than energetic attachment, which happens kind of like involuntarily and without us being fully consciously aware of that. So, yes, cord removal, so, so sacred. I also would have every single person in the world do some cord cutting every night. Doing cord cutting when you're in a conflict with another person is so empowering. I often cut cords from feelings that I have, like if you're in a conflict with someone and you want to control the situation and you're noticing that that desire to control the situation isn't serving you, you can do a cord cutting with the feeling of control, for example. It doesn't have to necessarily be with a person. So these are some really, really valuable practices that can deeply serve us in our lives as we are running businesses, parenting, making friends, living life however we are living life. It is so incredibly valuable. And there's so many different ways to do this. So the reason that these practices have not been taught in school is because these are not mainstream practices. These are the practices that would have been considered to be like witchcraft back in the day. Even just breathing or just anything that like makes you feel good, connects you with nature, is was considered to be really misunderstood. And we currently live in an era where we have more technology and more science than ever before. And we now have evidence that energetic cords are very much real, and these energetic practices do actually change your body and change your mind and change your emotions. Some of these practices are even being used in hospitals, they're being used by research centers like Columbia, Stanford, Yale, and Harvard because they are so incredibly effective, and they've been helping people release chronic illnesses, release trauma, release anxiety, mental health. It's been really, really incredible. So I know that these things aren't really talked about so much because they weren't proven, even just 10, 20 years ago. And over the next probably 20 years, we're going to see a huge shift in our wellness and healthcare and mental health space because we're seeing how these practices that were considered to be like woo woo, weird, ancient rituals are actually scientifically based and actually do support us. And yeah, it's really, really beautiful that these practices have survived since the beginning of human evolution. And these practices, cord cutting and cord removal, are considered some ancient, indigenous, lost knowledge because these things have not made it into textbooks and into our mainstream media. And the more our society becomes Americanized or futuristic or mainstream, we tend to kind of let go of a lot of these spiritual practices, and these spiritual practices become lost. So, by continuing to practice these spiritual practices, you not only support your own evolution, your own feelings, and your own life, but you are also keeping alive these ancient practices. You are allowing yourself to get connected to your lineage across all time, space, and dimensions. Like it is so sacred. We can go so deep. I can talk about this stuff absolutely forever. And that's why I started my YouTube channel in the first place, is because I was doing so many master classes where I could talk about these topics for hours and hours and hours. And they're so, so, so fun for me. And they've been so useful for me. So I really hope that some of these practices can support you as well. If you want to get into using cord cutting regularly, I'm going to link one of my favorite cord cutting meditations in the description box below. I would also recommend taking salt baths that can help cut some cords. Using a lot of incense cuts cords. Taking showers helps cut cords, and getting into nature can also help a lot, a lot. Every time we exercise, we are empowering ourselves with our own energy, which also naturally cuts cords from thoughts, emotions, stress, something that you're thinking about from the past, future, or anything in between. So I hope that this video supports you in your vibration and in your energetic journey. It's been so nice to chat with you and to be here and spend this beautiful time together. Thank you so, so much for taking the time to work on becoming the best version of yourself, because the world needs you at your best, and we really, really love to see you at your best. And yes, when you are your best, you inspire so many others to become their best as well in ways that you may or may not even be aware of. So, thank you for all of the work that you're doing in your own life and for all of the work that you're doing for all of us, and just embodying that earth angel, radical superhero energy. I appreciate you, and I'll see you in our next video. Bye.